Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. This is your host, the BARKEEP, bringing you podcast number 24 here at the Tavern, presented by HeroTaku.com. And today I am again joined by my semi-regular, or almost regular co-host now, Raptor.
Face it, BARKEEP, you have more with me than you do without me.
Well,
anyways.
Well, we've been actually a little bit busy because Raptor and I have started classes back this week at the university.
Yeah.
So I first want to apologize for not having a video out for a while now. I hope everybody can understand college life is going to push these videos back a little bit. But since it's the Labor Day weekend and we got Monday off, this is a prime opportunity to at least get one video out.
Yeah, we'll see. And yeah, it just feels good to do something because, that's always one of my big pet peeves when I've got a video series I like and they're slow on updates.
Yeah, and I'd like to think I have a legitimate reason here, but we'll leave that for the fans to decide. Now, Raptor, why don't you go ahead and inform everybody as to what we're going to talk about today, because this was your idea.
Right. So, it made the rounds on the Power Rangers fan sites earlier this week that Jason David Frank was interested in contacting Saban to create a Green Ranger solo movie. He said that this was Power Rangers' chance to have a Wolverine-style movie.
Now, let's clarify on a couple of things here. First of all, I hope he doesn't mean X-Men Origins Wolverine. I'll tell you that right now, because if it's anything like that, we're in trouble.
But if it's like the Wolverine, then it'll be awesome.
Which I still need to go see. But this is only an idea he mentioned during an interview process. There's nothing official that has been done or anything. But basically what he's saying is he wants and I believe he described it as a Green Ranger Origins film. Am I remembering that correctly?
I think, well, we should have pulled the article.
Yeah, I read the article a little bit, but I'm trying to remember exactly what he had said.
An origin movie sounds very strange because we saw his origin
and that's something
in that episode.
And we'll talk about that here in a bit, but what we want to go ahead and focus on is a number of different issues. And the first thing we want to go ahead and say is that, well, let me just ask this, Raptor. Do you think that if Jason Frank actually really wants this done, and he goes to Saban with a proposal, and he talks to him, do you think that this movie could get made through Saban?
If Saban were to back this project, it would not be made, it would not be a theatrical film. Power Rangers hasn't been seen in cinemas since, was it 98? That was
97 was when Turbo last came out.
Yeah. I think if this were to go through Saban, it would be a television movie.
Not even direct to DVD.
Direct to DVD with a television airing.
Now, he also stated, that's Jason Frank stated, that he would want it to be for the adult fans. And that's the big thing that everybody's kind of latching to, is something for the adult fans. Because I watched his IGN interview, and it seems obvious that Jason Frank has a better understanding of the adult fan base than just about everybody else at the moment.
Yeah, more so than any other alumnus of the show. He has kept in touch with fans the most.
Yes, because he's, I'm not saying that he's trying to ride the wave of success that he got 20 years ago or anything, but he seems to be just as much a fan of the show and the series as we are. He really seems that way. He's always the most enthusiastic when it comes to talking about Power Rangers, and that's from interviews even years ago and today.
All right, so I found the quote here.
Okay.
He said to Complex that, "I'm talking to Saban about making a PG-13 Green Ranger movie. It's just a matter of Saban stepping behind it. I was an X-Men fan growing up. I loved Wolverine. I feel like the Green Ranger can step outside the box and be like the Wolverine of Power Rangers. That's why I think he can handle his own movie."
Well, first of all, I think he is the Wolverine of Power Rangers. I mean, he was that breakout character. He is the Bender. He is the Urkel. He is the Wolverine of the Power Ranger franchise. I mean, there's no question about that. But I think what he's getting to is the legitimacy of the Power Ranger franchise through the eyes of the Green Ranger. And what it seems to me is, and correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but he wants to bring Power Rangers, I guess, more to the mainstream and get respect for it. Because I remember him saying, it's not in the interview you just read, but I do remember seeing something where he mentioned like Batman Begins of Power Rangers or something. Sort of how Nolan did with the Batman franchise. He wants to be a part of for the Power Ranger franchise, that rebirth of it.
What I took from this interview was that he wanted to do something for the fans, not necessarily for the mainstream audience.
And I agree. I mean, I understand that, but I think it also, I think part of what he means is he does want to bring it out to mainstream. Because think about for a second here, is like, if we compare this to Batman Begins, it was kind of made by fans in the writers Goyer and Nolan and so forth and all that, but it did bring Batman back to a mainstream audience. Batman Begins, The Dark Knight especially, and even Rises brought Batman back to the forefront of the public consciousness, which, and I guess, again, from what I'm reading from Jason Frank, is kind of what he wants to do, is bring it back to the forefront, because let's be honest here. The 20th anniversary of Power Rangers is kind of going on quietly in the background. We just had the 20th anniversary, was it yesterday? Friday?
Yes.
Or 2 days ago, the 28th. It was 2 days ago we had the 20th anniversary.
And while you were celebrating Power Rangers Day, I was celebrating Satoshi Tajiri's birthday.
Yeah, but that's the point. Is like nobody cared. So there is less of a relevance in the culture, which is probably another video unto itself. But I think Frank definitely sees that there is an opportunity to bring it back to the forefront, like it was in '93.
Certainly.
Let's kind of get back on topic right here.
Okay.
Now, you and I have different opinions, and I want to kind of go first here, and then I want you to dive into yours.
Yeah.
It's the idea of how this movie gets made. Let's assume for the moment that Jason Frank is able to convince Saban, and Saban's going to back this project financially and through whatever support, allow copyright material, things like that. So if we go by that route, you and I have different ideas of how this is going to be done.
Yes.
Now, personally, I don't think this is something that Saban Brands would handle. They would do this the Disney route that they did with Pirates of the Caribbean and a couple of other movies. Specifically, that they license it to another production company to completely come up with the script, the casting, the production, the distribution, all that. Because, it's not Disney's Pirates of the Caribbean, it's just Pirates of the Caribbean, or even Avengers. Look at Avengers. It's technically Disney's Avengers, but
it's Marvel Productions, it's Marvel Studios.
Yeah, and I think they went through Paramount or somebody too.
It was Paramount at first.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been Marvel Studios at the core.
Yeah. Now the reason I say they're going to do this is because, one, I don't think Saban Brands has the financial backing to make a film that if we're going to be honest, if it's going to go back, if it's going to get to the mainstream, it's not going to be Saban's backing that can make it Dark Knight level, Avengers level in budget, at least. That you would have to get another studio to do that. And also, I don't think anybody at Saban Brands cares enough to do it. And the only reason I say that is because of the products that we're getting now with Megaforce, that I would not trust anybody.
Well, you just explained the issue that lay within that.
Mm-hmm.
Power Rangers lacks the cultural relevance
that
it had in '93.
Exactly. And you can't do that with Saban Brands, because what they did with Turbo, okay, if we look at Turbo and the Mighty Morphin the first movie, they pretty much had it done by 20th Century Fox, okay? Mm-hmm. They got writers, they got Brian Singer, the Brian Spicer, the guy he did episodes of 24. They got different writing crew, they got a different director, different production house, and they were able to make that movie.
Right.
Now, when it came to doing Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, that was done by Saban Brands. They had the same writers.
It showed.
It was the same writers, the same production staff, same set design, everything. So I think what they need to do is, if they're going to do a Green Ranger movie, it should not be done by Saban Brands. They should outsource it to somebody else who could put more time and effort into it. And maybe somebody who's disconnected with the franchise in that regard might be able to help reinvent
That's
the film.
entirely true. They would have a fresh set of eyes, and so someone who's outside of the general sphere of things could possibly create something that would be more accepted by the mainstream audience.
And if you put Frank on there, he would be able to reel in the character, at least, of Tommy to the way he wants it to be, as opposed to maybe how the studio would view it. But that's something I want to get into in a moment. What I want to go ahead and discuss now is you have an alternative take on this, on how this should be done, and you were telling me this before. So if Saban allows them to do this, you suggested that.
All right, I suggested that Jason David Frank recruit a production crew, but make it a fan-backed production. Get a production crew, make an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter. Because here's what I think. Unless Super Megaforce really makes Power Rangers popular again, Saban would not take, Saban or even some outside production company would not take such a risk.
Okay.
And even if Saban did latch onto the project, if it was made by Saban and if it's quality comparable to Megaforce.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea of the fan film just kind of worries me a little bit. Not that there haven't been good projects that are ongoing with like MMPR for right now, because like you'd said, Alex Axelrod's involved with it. They seem to have good financial backing and all that. But again, to the point I think Frank's making, at least the point I know I'm making, to bring it to cultural relevance again, having a fan film, I don't think would help that.
What I took away from the interview that we cited was that it sounded like Frank wanted to do a movie for the fans, which played right into that discussion that we had about adult fans.
Yes.
This would be, the way I understood it, is that this would be something for the longtime fans of Power Rangers, both current and lapsed fans, because face it, if a Green Ranger movie comes out, there will be people who used to love the show as a kid but haven't watched anything since then.
But it would also determine on the way that it's done, because if it's a fan film and doesn't get a theatrical release, and I think that's also going to be part of it here, is that I don't think the TV special, a direct DVD, or even a fan film is going to do anything for the popularity or brand recognition. It would have to be theatrical to be of any type of significance, I think. Now, that's not saying that direct-to-DVD movies aren't good. I mean, Batman Under the Red Hood was amazing.
Right.
But, the thing is that the priorities of DC Animation are completely different than what Power Rangers either is doing, or at least in our case, what they should be doing if they want to take on this project.
That being said, I think Batman brings in more toy money each year than Power Rangers does. So
I would debate that, but that would be another podcast altogether. Because, of course, they keep saying Power Rangers is nothing but to sell toys, like this was still the 1980s. But, again, those are two different ideas we have, but again, it all depends on what Saban wants to do.
If I may.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I want to continue on the idea of the merits of a fan film.
Yeah, and again, let me be clear here. I have no problems with a fan film. Just for this particular idea, I don't think a fan film would be the best course to go. But go ahead and talk about the fan films.
Right. So there have been several fan films that have put out really great quality. In fact, I watched a web series this morning of Batman fighting Deadpool. And the Batman suit wasn't perfect, but the Deadpool suit was perfect. The Catwoman suit was perfect. The Batmobile they got was great. The SFX were great.
Yeah, and I've seen some fan films that are good, like Batman versus Predator. That's that's really good. And the Casey Jones fan film was really good, but nobody knows the way it is.
and then the Star Trek: The New Voyages, that had George Takei guest star, and as you mentioned, MMPR has Robert Axelrod on board.
Did I call him something else? I know I call him Axelrod, but
You may have no, and
okay.
they also have Ron Lasserman composing it.
Yeah, well, Ron Wasserman, I mean, he pretty much works for a sandwich nowadays, to be honest. He seems to be doing just about everything and anything. And that's not a spite against him, but his music is popping up everywhere nowadays. You notice that?
No, I haven't. What's he been in lately?
Well, I mean, he's doing like a lot of stuff for fans online. I think Linkara's used his music once in a while. He composed something for Linkara, and Linkara didn't he paid him like very little to do it. It's like, I don't know if he's like struggling for work or anything like that, but man, he's just all over the place now, which is awesome.
So, anyways, going off of the idea that, as I said, I interpreted that Jason David Frank imagined a Green Ranger solo movie as something for fans.
Yeah.
I think that if Saban wanted to try something to bring the franchise back to the mainstream, it would probably involve... It probably wouldn't be a solo movie. It would probably be something that involved an entire team.
No.
We can get to that. And the greatest thing that I think a fan film would provide would be loving attention to the source material.
I agree with you there. But as both film students, you have to admit that even if there's loving attention, I think the biggest concern I have would be the production values. And I say that because, again, there are fan films that have been really good out there that with people know what they're doing and all that. But to me, I just kind of feel, I would feel more comfortable as a fan of the franchise if this was handled with a generous budget.
Well, what would you consider a generous budget?
Well, I don't know what the figures would be at the moment. I don't even know what Megaforce's budget is. But what I'm saying is like, okay, so like the Casey Jones movie, that had a very minimum budget onto it because it's filmed on location, it's got practical effects, and I don't even think the turtles even appear in there. So there's no like animatronics or special anything that you have to go ahead and do. It is the essence of a low-budget film.
Okay.
But I don't think that you could probably do a Power Rangers fan film today with a minimalistic budget and achieve the things that you want to visually. I know story-wise you could go ahead and handle them. You can do a good story about Tommy because he's a decent actor. He's not bad or anything. You can do the martial arts with him. I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah, you get
but if you're talking about the other half of it, which is the giant robots and the teleportation, the lasers and all that other stuff, I don't think somebody working on Final Cut and Adobe Premiere is necessarily going to be able to do justice to that. You know what I'm saying?
I would disagree.
Okay.
Face it, nowadays, in fact, I read an article about this. Special effects houses in Hollywood are being driven out of business because cheap upstarts come in. You can get, with just a little bit of time invested into learning the software, you can get a computer and software that can produce Hollywood-worthy, or at least television-worthy, CGI graphics for about $2,000 to $3,000.
Okay.
So for about $2,000 to $3,000 and some time spent learning the programs, you could be worthy of a Hollywood film. Now, and see, that's driving these bigger players out of business because they're being driven out by a bunch of cheap newbies.
Yeah, and I'm not going to disagree with you there. I guess ultimately what it comes to, in my mind, is, again, the reason I'm wary about a fan film is, again, the mainstream media and the way it's going to be perceived by the general public. Because let's be honest for a second. Look at Iron Man. Nobody could name an Iron Man villain. Nobody could actually name what Iron Man's alter ego was or really knew anything about Iron Man.
Iron Man was arguably a B-list hero before the movie.
Exactly. Then the movie comes out, and he's treated with respect, with the budget necessary to tell a story with a man in an iron suit. and took an actor who basically got his career revitalized through that. If somebody did an Iron Man fan film prior to the Robert Downey Jr. movie, your Iron Man would still be that B list in the background because they were able to bring him to the mainstream successfully. And what I'm afraid of is that if it doesn't get that kind of treatment, and again, this is just my opinion here, if it doesn't get that type of treatment, then Power Rangers is still going to be part of that subculture where it's...
it would remain where it is.
Exactly. And that's my fear. That is the only reason I would be against a fan film. That I think you have to take the major
right, and it
Hollywood
sounds
studio
like the
thing.
impasse we're at here is that you're viewing this as a way to try and have Power Rangers make a big theatrical comeback. And that is certainly a worthy desire.
It's because I'm just disappointed with where the franchise is.
Right, and
I just don't want to see it to go.
The franchise get some respect.
Yeah.
And what I'm viewing this as is that Jason David Frank wants to make a treat for the fans.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm trying to look towards what would be the best way for him to deliver the best product that wouldn't be bogged down, possibly by that crap writing team on Megaforce.
Yes.
And I think that with a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo, with Jason David Frank himself attached to it, not just some look-alike that they pulled off the street. No, to have the man himself attached to the campaign, they would probably make at least, they could probably shoot upwards of $100,000.
I tell you this, because ultimately what I want to see out of it is...
And how much would it cost you to get a show-perfect Green Ranger suit from Anarchy?
Oh, what, $600, something like that, $600-$700?
Yeah, if JDF was attached to a Kickstarter campaign, they would get that in less than a day.
I will say this because we'll move on to our next topic of discussion right here, but I just want to say, no matter what happens, I want to be able to see Jim and his aesthetics class take a scene from that movie and use it as an example of what to do in film as opposed to what not to do. That's ultimately, I think, what I want to go ahead and see.
All right.
And for those of you who don't know, that's an in-joke. I'm not going to bother to explain it right now, but just go to film school. I think we've talked enough about how we want it done, but I think here's the more interesting point. Because, again, Jason Frank just came up with the idea. Now,
I think he was just saying shit.
Yeah, exactly. But let's take that a step further. So Saban buys the idea, and whether it be fan production or big Hollywood blockbuster and all that, the question is, what story do you tell? And when I look at it, there are two possibilities of which you can do. And I've thought about doing like a Power Rangers film, like if I wrote a script or something like that, and I've ran into this problem a bunch of times.
I've made a Power Rangers-esque film.
Oh, absolutely. But if you're going to do straight up Power Rangers, do you either A, do a story that's a continuation or fits somewhere within the timeline with the established continuity, or do you do a reboot of the series? And what Jason Frank almost makes it sound like is because I've been seeing articles with the word Green Ranger Origins in there.
I think the Green Ranger, I looked at the interview, he said nothing about Green Ranger origin story.
I know, but when I first hear that, it makes me think reboot of some kind.
Right, but they're just calling it Green Ranger Origins because he compared the Green Ranger to Wolverine.
Absolutely. But it just got my mind going in those directions. So what I want to ask of you, and this is what I want to have our next discussion on, is should the Green Ranger movie be either a continuation, like we see what Tommy's been doing since the Dino Thunder team and before Super Mega Force or whatever, or should we go back and tell a different story, maybe a solo Green Ranger movie, a reboot of the Power Rangers franchise altogether? Just going on the premise, you're going to have Jason Frank as the Green Ranger. What story do you think would be best to go ahead and tell? What would you want to go ahead and see?
Okay, well, if we're doing this with Jason David Frank, I would not want a reboot.
Okay.
Because if we're going for a reboot, I would not take it. How old is he now?
He's nearly 40.
Exactly. I wouldn't. if we're doing a reboot, it couldn't fly with a 40-year-old man in that spot.
Well, not if you're doing Teenagers with Attitude, but
which would be expected of a
reboot.
Even if they were aged into college students, it still couldn't fly.
Yeah, unless he does play Dr. O. But go ahead, keep going with yours.
So if that were the case, if we were going to do this with the original Tommy, I would prefer it to stay within the franchise. Since this character is part of this established franchise, why not use that as an opportunity to explore parts of the universe that you hadn't explored before, have interactions with characters that you hadn't seen before, maybe have a new villain that fits in to this universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it would just be a waste and it would almost feel like it wouldn't fit together. Did you see either of the Ghost Rider movies?
I saw the first one with Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
Okay, so the second movie is strange because it still stars Nicolas Cage, but it's essentially a reboot.
Sort of like what G.I. Joe, the second G.I. Joe movie was, right?
Pretty much the same.
Okay. So same universe, but kind of deviates a little bit off what was established.
Well, Ghost Rider wildly deviated.
Well,
it completely changed around the devil character.
Oh, so it's not Peter Fonda?
No, I forgot who it was, but and the devil's personalities completely changed. His powers are completely changed, but the point is, they've greatly changed around the universe
to fit with the story they were trying to tell.
The same actor.
Okay, so here would be my question. I'll kind of lead into this right here. And I want to get your thoughts on this. Is that one of the other things that was mentioned in one of the interviews was PG-13 Power Rangers. Now, do you think that we could do a PG-13 Power Rangers story within the established universe? So if Saban says, yes, this is a continuation of Tommy's adventures in Power Rangers, but it's a PG-13 movie. Because even looking at DCAU, you get Kevin Conroy coming back. You got Tim Daly as Superman, but it's not part of DCAU. It's a PG-13 direct-to-DVD movie. So my thought would be is that you couldn't necessarily do PG-13 with the DCAU. I mean, you've done it a couple of times with like...
oh, come on. Justice League was pretty much PG-13.
Well, I understand. I'm not going to say that there wasn't mature or anything like that. Just that I have a hard time seeing Saban doing a PG-13 Power Ranger movie that fits into the current continuity. That's where I see
therein goes what I was saying about a fan film.
Okay. But I mean, if it is going to be backed by Saban, and it's got to be part of continuity, because let's be honest, every attempt to take Power Rangers out of continuity, even under Saban, was just met with a shrug and like, so what?
And then the writers eventually would just give in and be like, okay, fine, you get a team up.
Exactly. I mean, and again, I just find I would love to see a PG-13 film, something that is more adult, and I don't mean by cursing or the violence on it, but I mean like a good story.
Right.
But I would just like to know how it would fit into Power Rangers, because, here's the thing, is that I've always imagined that the other Rangers are off doing other things. The thing Johnny and Bosch said when he was interviewed by Linkara for about... he was being interviewed about after Once a Ranger. And Johnny had basically said to the effect that he hated the ending to the episode because the line he was given was, I'm going to go back to running my dojo. Because apparently every Power Ranger in the original generation that was karate owns a dojo or works at a dojo. But he felt that his character should be off doing other things. That his
because Tommy was clearly established to be doing other things.
Yeah, exactly, because he feels that his character just can't sit idly by while there's still monsters and evil to go ahead and fight. And he's saying that the dojo is a cover story, and that Adam is actually still operating as like the Black Ranger or some other Ranger, going on secret missions and stuff like that.
Hey, I like that theory. I'm going to go with that.
Exactly. I think that's how we're going to retcon it, because it comes straight from, Akira's mouth, basically. Now, where was I going with this? I was going somewhere.
You were going along on the idea that you're wondering how a PG-13 story could fit into this
Yes.
very PG universe.
And not even PG, more like G universe most of the time. Because here's my overall thought, is that, again, and this is also something Jason Frank said in the IGN interview where this came up, is that he pretty much made the comment that it was the same now that it was 20 years ago. Production values are pretty much the same, costumes are the same, the writing's the same, the characters are the same. He basically said it hadn't changed much within 20 years, which I know there's a benefit to that, to have a status quo pretty much from season to season in that regard. But as I've said before, I think it's time Power Rangers grew up. And I wonder if this could be the catalyst for that. That if we can get Jason, Frank, and Saban on the same page, and we can produce a good movie that, again, fans and critics and the general populace can all agree with, then this could possibly be a stepping stone into a new direction for Power Rangers. And that's what I would like to see. Is that, again, I like Power Rangers as it is, but it has that potential, and I think Frank is seeing that potential.
Right, and it could be just like Transformers was. Transformers
without the racist robots.
Sure. But Transformers was arguably, at least in the years leading into the movie, it was a B-list franchise.
Absolutely. It had gone past its prime.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Caught that, didn't you?
Yeah, it was certainly an A-list franchise in its day, but Power Rangers was an A-list franchise in the beginning.
Yeah, every franchise has their time. Most of them are still stuck within their the generation they were made, which was an argument that I had brought up about the Ninja Turtles one time. So they were kind of stuck in their time. Power Rangers, in a way, is not stuck in their time, but it's stuck to what they were from day one. That they are still the same in general. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm sorry, go ahead with your point, yeah.
Yeah, so the movie catapulted Transformers into what is an A-list children's franchise.
Yeah, with the subsequent series that have come out of that.
Yeah, 2 more movies, two series since then, because
we
got animated and Prime, and greater than ever merchandise sales.
Yeah.
So if Power Rangers could get something like that, Power Rangers could get the Transformers treatment or the Iron Man treatment. I think Iron Man treatment's a bit more of a...
Yeah, because again, first of all, Marvel did have different priorities in line, but just the idea to take something that...
something that wasn't Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And give it the respect it deserves, and give it a good crew and good production. Yeah,
because let's be honest, since X-Men, there's been this renaissance of superhero films, and they are now the films everybody wants to go see. Those and teenage novel adaptations for some reason.
Yeah, but those are dying out.
Hopefully. And it just seems to me that, they're giving, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a TV show. They're doing an Ant-Man movie. Ant-Man...
Ant-Man's awesome.
Well, Ant-Man's more B or C list than Power Rangers,
Kind of. He's...
Well, everybody knows who a Power Ranger is, but nobody knows what an Ant-Man is.
But they do know what an Avenger is.
Yes. All I'm saying is, why not the Power Rangers? Why can't they get this movie makeover for a new audience, new generation?
Simply, I could even see Hollywood backers who would be willing to sign off on it.
Yeah, Jason David Frank is the Green Ranger and get somebody famous as the villain. I don't know. Roseanne Barr was in Ninja Turtles as the villain, so let's see who we can.
What the hell?
Yeah, I'll have to explain that one to you later.
Yes. So, all right.
Well, let's kind of wrap this back to where we were and stuff, because I love going on tangents with you. It's so much fun. I just don't know what our audience thinks of that. But yeah, ultimately, what it looks like to me is that, again, it's just an idea. It's a proposal that he has. And I just want to see what Saban's going to do with it. Does he take this seriously? Meaning that does he?
Oh, it's not he. It's
Well,
I'm sure he doesn't even pay attention to it. Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is like
They.
okay, will they look at this as something besides an opportunity to sell toys and sell DVDs? Because I think that's where we're stuck in the mentality, and I love that Jason Frank is going out that because he doesn't want to do this to make toys or sell DVDs or really even make money off of his name, it seems. He really seems interested in doing a character movie about a popular character.
I think that's just because Jason David Frank does whatever he wants.
Oh, yeah, and that I respect him for.
No, seriously, with those Megaforce set photos and all that crap he leaked, their legal department must be pissed.
Well, I mean, it's the age of the year, and I think somebody was going to leak something eventually.
Right, but anyways, yes, he's wanting to do this character piece, but if you want to talk about selling toys, you know what sells toys better than a weekly TV series with a bad time slot on Saturday?
A movie?
Yep. So if you want to sell toys...
Yeah, look at the Django Unchained toy line.
Oh, ha.
Yeah.
But, I mean... But Batman toys, Iron Man toys, Man of Steel toys.
Yeah. I'm told the Superman stuff is selling really well, even though it's like, they're just like... They look pretty bad, bad toys.
Well, I mean, most toys you get at Walmart do suck.
Yeah, well.
But the point is,
yeah,
that's generating a lot better toy sales.
Yeah, and let's be honest, I think even with the Megaforce toys that they have now, and eventually they will have the Super Megaforce, and I'm hoping for like re-releases, like what they're doing with the Legacy Megazords and stuff like that. A tie-in could definitely bring in more money, a Green Ranger film, which unfortunately, given the time frame, would probably have to be after Super Megaforce. But
there's no way this thing would be ready by.
Well, I mean, they're trying to get Star Wars out by like in the next year and a half, and they barely have a script. So.
Oh God, it's as bad as the time frame for the Man of Steel sequel.
Yes, very bad. Well, there's a lot more we could probably go into, but I'm just afraid we're going to get a little bit off topic.
We're rambling today.
Yeah, but it's just fun to get back into this mood and focus a little bit since classes have started, and we're going to be watching a lot of Japanese films this year. Unfortunately, none of them are Sentai, but it's just good to be able to talk about the Power Rangers before we start getting into a lot of heavy work here. So. Any final thoughts you want to go ahead and say before we get here? Just any final things about this idea?
I think that if Saban turns him down, I think Jason David Frank should put out a call to fans. I think that there would be people if the news story went out that he said that he's looking for a crew.
Mm-hmm.
There would be some good people stepping up and. Make an Indiegogo, make something, because face it, you would get a good Green Ranger story. It wouldn't do what you want for bringing Power Rangers back into the mainstream. No way that fan film could do that.
Yeah,
but it would be a great Green Ranger story.
I do think that if they went that route with the fan film, it would be something nice to have on Blu-ray sitting on your shelf. Just like a little.
It would be something that you as a fan could appreciate.
Absolutely, a little nugget right there, sandwiched between the other Blu-rays. It'll be good because it'll be separate from the franchise. I think in that regard, but it'd be just kind of like I don't know, like kind of like the first movie. It's like separate from the franchise, but it was still good.
Exactly.
So. Well, hey, guys, tell us what you think in the comments. What do you think of this whole Green Ranger movie, Green Ranger Origins, Green Ranger fan film, whatever. Tell us your thoughts and then put them in the comments. But for now, I think we're going to go ahead and get some homework done. Well, you're going to get homework done. We're going to watch some more football. So, But thank you guys for listening here today. Thank you again, Raptor, for coming in with the idea.
Always great to be here.
And now the tavern is closed.